Hi there and welcome to my game review for Super 3D Noah's Ark. In this review I will explain what this game is, what to expect and if it is a game I recommend to you. Now on to the review. What is Super 3D Noah's Ark, be might you ask? Super 3D Noah's Ark is a first-person shooter that is infamous for various reasons, namely the subject matter of the game and the variety of myths based upon the development of the game. As the title of the game insinuates, this game is based upon the Noah's Ark story, more explicitly the Christian interpretation of this story. This game was different to other rival games at the time, such as Wolfenstein 3D or Doom, since the game is an alternative to other games on the market, particularly for devout Christians, concerned parents and children, as at the time there was a lack of first-person shooters that were suitable for children. It would also appease parents concerned about games, as well as adding another game to the Wisdom Tree brand. Despite the fact that this game is a port of an old game, the port has received various technical upgrades. Visually, the game can now play in 1080p, with true 16:9 aspect ratio, with no stretching present. The mouse controls used in the game don't feel as limited as the original version, and feels more fluid than versions previously released on the PC. Whilst there are various parts of the game available, the version I base this review on is the Steam version. This version has achievements and trading cards on offer, which I think is a nice addition to have, as many parts of older games don't get this much in new content, particularly as many ports are direct from original versions of the game, with no new additions for modern requirements. There was also talks of utilising the Steam Workshop, so players could use the Steam Workshop to create new content for the game. There was even an announcement of multiplayer support being added into the game, as it's a cool idea to play the story levels cooperatively, or even playing various game modes such as Capture the Flag. As of now, there is no multiplayer in the game, neither is there Steam Workshop support for the game. As of now, there isn't anything new announced about either of them. Whilst gameplay-wise it is exact to Wolfenstein 3D, and they have various familiar comparisons, as they are both maze-like when it comes to level design, which I think is awkward when trying to navigate around each level. But one of the main and obvious differences between the rival games at the time is how both the aesthetic and sound design in Super 3D Noah's Ark is quite cheerful, cartoony and upbeat, whilst most other shooters are not. The game itself is very innocent, as you are using different slingshots and fruits of various styles to shoot at the animals to make them go to sleep, with each slingshot acting as the equivalent of guns used in FPS games, such as a pistol, machine gun, minigun and a rocket launcher, as well as your fists if you have no fruit to fling. However, unlike every other game within the genre, you will find scrolls scattered throughout the levels. The scrolls will ask you questions based on the biblical interpretation of Noah's Ark, which are easy to answer if you've read through the Bible. Alternatively, you could use a search engine or a smart device to provide you with an answer. Nevertheless, you are provided 3 different answers to choose from, so you can easily guess answers. In some aspects, I do feel that this game is superior in comparison to Wolfenstein 3D. Technically, this game provides more content on offer, namely that there is a larger amount of enemies that appears on the map. This makes the game harder and more action-filled. I also feel that aesthetically the game is better, as it doesn't use assorted colours and textures to splatter across the levels, as I disliked the usage of bright colours and wood aesthetic used in Wolfenstein 3D. However, this game uses a bright wood texture to predominantly decorate the walls. There is also animal pictures and bars that have been broken used sparingly on the walls, either as a decoration or to hide secret areas. Despite the fact that Super 3D Noah's Ark was released in 1995, this game nonetheless holds up by today's standards. Sure, the cartoony graphics of the game have dated slightly over time, however the game consists of 2D sprites and it enables the game to appear better. By today's standards, it hasn't aged too badly in comparison to some PS1 era games, for example. Despite that, the game, even if it looks dated, I still think nonetheless the game is fun to play. I do think that due to the objective of the game, as well as the subject matter of the game, this makes the game quite niche and meant for a targeted audience. Essentially, this is a first-person shooter that was suitable for the game's target market, with little consideration for other audiences. However, if you aren't the game's target market, but old enough to remember the game, there is some nostalgia and curiosity value there, particularly for those who played the game back in the 1990s. Alternatively, even those who like games within the genre, it may still provide a few hours worth of fun. Overall, I feel that Super 3D Noah's Ark is only worth playing for nostalgia. However, if you are a part of the game's intended demographic, then I would gladly recommend this game to you. But even then, I would only recommend buying this game when it is on offer on Steam.